Imagine walking through the corridors of Hogwarts knowing that you're stepping on the same ground where some of the most powerful wizards in history learned their first spells. Some became legendary heroes, others transformed into terrifying villains, but they all share something in common. They changed the magical world forever. Today we're going to dive deep into the history of the most powerful graduates who ever passed through the gates of Hogwarts. And get ready, because some of these stories will surprise you in ways you never imagined. Before we begin this epic journey through the most extraordinary wizards of all time, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, this is the perfect moment to hit that subscribe button. Each subscription makes all the difference and motivates us to bring more and more quality content about the magical universe we all love. And leave in the comments which city you're watching this video from. We love knowing we have fans spread around the world. Now yes, let's begin our countdown of the most powerful wizards Hogwarts has ever graduated. When we think about pure magical power, we need to understand that there are different types of greatness in the wizarding world. Some stood out for their mastery in specific fields of magic, others for their absolute versatility, and there are those whose historical impact transcended entire generations. The Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, founded over 1,000 years ago by the four most powerful wizards of their time, has been the cradle of extraordinary talents ever since. Each house contributed with its own prodigies. And today, we're going to explore not only who these wizards were, but how their journeys at Hogwarts shaped their destinies. Let's start by talking about a wizard many underestimate, but who deserves full recognition, Newt Scamander. Graduated from Hufflepuff in 1918, Newt may not seem like the most intimidating wizard at first glance, but his contribution to the magical world is monumental. During his years at Hogwarts, he already demonstrated an extraordinary affinity with magical creatures, something that made him unique among his peers. His expulsion almost happened due to an incident involving a dangerous experiment with a creature. But Albus Dumbledore, who was already a professor at the time, defended Newt Scamander and prevented his complete expulsion. What makes Newt Scamander truly powerful is not just his ability with wands, but his deep understanding of creature magic and his capacity to connect with beings that other wizards considered impossible to control. He mastered protection and concealment spells so advanced that he managed to keep dozens of dangerous magical creatures inside a single suitcase, without anyone suspecting. His book, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, became required text at Hogwarts and revolutionized the treatment of magical creatures throughout the world. Additionally, Newt played a crucial role in the capture of Gellert Grindelwald, one of the most dangerous dark wizards of all time, demonstrating that his power went far beyond creature care. Now we need to talk about Minerva McGonagall, one of the most formidable witches who ever came out of Gryffindor. Graduated in 1954, Minerva already demonstrated exceptional talent from her first year at Hogwarts. She was immediately recognized as one of the brightest students of her generation, mastering transfiguration with an ease that impressed even the most experienced professors. Her ability to transform into a tabby cat as a registered animagus shows the level of magical skill required, since few wizards can master this extremely complex art. Minerva McGonagall wasn't just academically brilliant, she possessed a strength of character and combat ability that made her truly formidable. During the Battle of Hogwarts, already at an advanced age, she led the castle's defense, conjured multiple simultaneous protective spells, and even animated Hogwarts stone statues to fight, a transfiguration feat that very few wizards could perform. She faced Voldemort personally alongside Slughorn and Shacklebolt, holding back the most powerful dark wizard of the century until Harry could confront him. Her unwavering loyalty, strategic wisdom and raw magical power make her one of Hogwarts' most impressive graduates. Continuing our journey, we arrive at Bellatrix Lestrange. Graduated from Slytherin probably in the late 1960s, Bellatrix represents the dark side of what Hogwarts can produce. She was a member of the noble and ancient House of Black, a family obsessed with blood purity and dark magic. During her years at Hogwarts, Bellatrix already demonstrated inclinations toward darker spells and an intensity that frightened many of her peers. She wasn't just cruel, she was exceptionally talented. Bellatrix became Voldemort's most loyal and skilled Death Eater, the only one he truly trusted. Her mastery of unforgivable curses was terrifying, especially the Cruciatus curse, which she used to torture Frank and Alice Longbottom into permanent insanity. She accomplished something very few wizards achieved, defeating and killing Sirius Black, one of the most skilled wizards of the Order of the Phoenix, in direct combat. During the Battle of Hogwarts, she fought simultaneously against Hermione Granger, Ginny Weasley, and Luna Lovegood, 3 talented witches, and was winning until she was finally defeated by Molly Weasley. Her power was undeniable, even if used for terrible purposes. Now let's talk about Severus Snape, one of the most complex and powerful characters in the entire saga. Graduated from Slytherin in 1978, Snape was what we could call a dark prodigy. Son of a muggle and a witch, he grew up in difficult circumstances, but that didn't prevent his talent from shining early on. Still a student at Hogwarts, Snape was already inventing his own spells, something only the most genius wizards can do. The Sectum Sempra spell, created by him during adolescence, was so dangerous and effective that it caused deep cuts, as if made by invisible swords. Snape's true greatness, however, lay in his multiple masteries. He was probably the best legilimens and occlumens of his generation, managing to deceive Voldemort for years, something that requires not only supreme technical skill, but extraordinary courage. His ability in potions was unsurpassed, making significant contributions to the field that were recognized even by Dumbledore. As a master in defense against the dark arts and deep connoisseur of dark magic itself, Snape could duel with the best, having faced and defeated several members of the Order of the Phoenix when necessary to maintain his cover. He created the Levicorpus spell, developed complex counter-curses, and mastered non-verbal magic with frightening ease. Snape represents the type of power that comes from pure genius combined with absolute determination. We need to dedicate a special moment to talk about Tom Riddle, who would later become Lord Voldemort. Graduated from Slytherin in 1945, Tom was what happens when extraordinary talent combines with ambition without moral limits. From his first day at Hogwarts, he was different. An orphan raised in a Muggle orphanage during World War II, Tom arrived at Hogwarts hungry for knowledge, power, and above all, immortality. He quickly became the brightest student of his generation, charming professors with his intelligence, charm, and apparent thirst for knowledge. But behind the facade of model student, Tom Riddle was exploring the darkest branches of magic. Still at Hogwarts, he discovered the existence of Horcruxes through Professor Slughorn and became obsessed with the idea. He opened the Chamber of Secrets that Salazar Slytherin had created, releasing the basilisk that killed Moaning Myrtle, a Ravenclaw student. He manipulated Hagrid to take the blame, demonstrating not only magical power, but precocious political cunning. Tom was already gathering followers at Hogwarts, the precursors of the Death Eaters, using his charisma and power to create a cult of personality. After graduating, Tom Riddle delved even deeper into dark magic, creating not 1, but 7 Horcruxes, something never before attempted by any wizard in history. He mastered the dark arts in ways few had imagined, being able to fly without a broom or any aid, something considered impossible. He managed to transcend death multiple times, possess bodies, create new bodies through dark rituals, and master the killing curse so completely that he could kill with a simple wand movement. Voldemort managed to gather armies of dark wizards, giants, dementors, and other dark creatures under his command. He terrorized the magical world twice, in 2 separate wars, and was only defeated due to extremely specific circumstances involving Lily Potter's loving sacrifice and the ownership of the Elder Wand. In terms of raw magical power and knowledge of the dark arts, Voldemort is indisputably one of the most powerful wizards who ever existed. But there is another Hogwarts graduate whose story needs to be told with the respect it deserves: Albus Dumbledore. Graduated from Gryffindor in 1899, Dumbledore was recognized as the brightest wizard of his generation from his earliest days at Hogwarts. Together with Elphias Doge, who would become his lifelong friend, Dumbledore demonstrated extraordinary talent in practically all areas of magic. He was so exceptional that he won the Barnabas Finkley Prize for exceptional spellcasting, the British Youth Gold Award for pioneering potion work, and established correspondence with notable wizards like Nicolas Flamel, the creator of the Philosopher's Stone, while still a student. Dumbledore's story is fascinating because it shows how even the most powerful face terrible temptations. After graduating, he met Gellert Grindelwald, another magical prodigy, and together they dreamed of dominating the Muggle world for the greater good. They sought the Deathly Hallows, 3 legendary magical objects that supposedly would make their possessor Master of Death. This dark period of Dumbledore's life ended tragically when his sister Ariana died in a duel between Albus, his brother Aberforth, and Grindelwald. Dumbledore never knew whose spell killed her, and this guilt haunted him for the rest of his life. But it was after this tragedy that Dumbledore truly became great. He dedicated his life to using his immense power to protect, teach, and guide. He became Transfiguration Professor at Hogwarts and eventually Headmaster. His contributions to alchemy, working with Nicolas Flamel, are legendary. He discovered the 12 uses of dragon's blood, revolutionizing multiple fields of magic. His dueling ability was so supreme that he was the only person Voldemort truly feared. The duel between Dumbledore and Voldemort at the Ministry of Magic in 1996 was witnessed by dozens of wizards and remains as one of the most impressive demonstrations of magical power ever recorded. Dumbledore not only fought Voldemort as an equal, but simultaneously protected Harry Potter and contained the destructive spells so they wouldn't kill the observers. Dumbledore mastered ancient and forgotten magic, understood the power of love in ways other wizards couldn't, and possessed wisdom that transcended mere technical knowledge. He was a supreme legilimens, capable of reading minds without eye contact or wands. His Phoenix Forks was connected to him in ways that suggested deep, magical connections. He managed to drink all the potion in the cave, where Voldemort had hidden a Horcrux, a potion designed to torture and incapacitate anyone who drank it. Even cursed mortally by Voldemort's Horcrux ring, Dumbledore managed to survive for an entire year through pure willpower and magical ability when this curse should have killed him instantly. What makes Dumbledore truly the most powerful is not just his raw power, which rivaled Voldemort's, but his wisdom, compassion, and the way he chose to use his power. He understood that true power comes not from dominating others, but from sacrifice, love, and making difficult choices for the greater good. He planned his own death to save Draco Malfoy from becoming a murderer and to protect Snape. He orchestrated events through decades to ensure Voldemort could be defeated, even knowing he wouldn't live to see that day. As he once said, "It is our choices that show who we really are, far more than our abilities." But our story wouldn't be complete without mentioning the wizard who, despite not having the technical power of Dumbledore or Voldemort, had an equally profound impact: Harry Potter. Graduated from Gryffindor in 1998, or rather considered graduated since his last year was spent hunting Horcruxes, Harry represents a different type of power. Since he was a baby, he survived the killing curse, something no other wizard had accomplished. During his years at Hogwarts, Harry faced challenges that would have destroyed much older and more experienced wizards. At only 11 years old, Harry defeated Quirrell possessed by Voldemort through the protective power of his mother's love. At 12, he descended into the Chamber of Secrets, faced a 1,000-year-old basilisk, and destroyed his first Horcrux, Tom Riddle's diary, saving Ginny Weasley and the entire school. At 13, he produced a corporeal Patronus, powerful enough to drive away more than 100 Dementors, a feat many adult wizards cannot accomplish. At 14, he survived the Triwizard Tournament, designed for 17-year-old wizards, and faced Voldemort at his return, escaping through pure determination and the rare phenomenon of priori incantatem. Harry had a natural affinity for defense against the dark arts that surprised even his professors. He founded and led Dumbledore's army, teaching dozens of students to defend themselves when the Ministry refused to prepare them for the approaching war. His mental connection with Voldemort, though painful, gave him unique insights about the enemy. Harry managed to resist the Imperious Curse, one of the 3 unforgivable curses, showing extraordinary willpower. He learned enough occlumency to eventually close his mind when necessary. Harry's true power, however, lay in his capacity to inspire others, his unwavering loyalty, and his willingness to sacrifice himself. In the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry voluntarily walked to his own death in the Forbidden Forest to allow Voldemort to be defeated, an act of courage very few could perform. He was hit by the killing curse for the 2nd time and, again, survived. In the final duel with Voldemort, Harry not only defeated him, but tried to give him one last chance to feel remorse. Harry became the master of the 3 Deathly Hallows, the true master of death, but unlike Voldemort, he understood that true mastery over death comes from accepting mortality, not fleeing from it. After the war, Harry became an Auror, and eventually head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, reforming the entire system to be more fair and effective. He named his son in honor of Severus Snape, recognizing heroism where others saw only betrayal. Harry Potter may not have been the most technically skilled wizard, but his impact on the magical world and his moral courage place him among the greatest Hogwarts graduates. We cannot forget Hermione Granger, graduated from Gryffindor in 1998. Born Muggle, Hermione arrived at Hogwarts without prior knowledge of the magical world, but quickly became the most intelligent witch of her generation. From her first year, she mastered spells that older students struggled to perform. She was so advanced that she received top marks in practically all subjects, something extremely rare. In her 3rd year, she used a time turner, an extremely regulated magical object, to attend multiple classes simultaneously, demonstrating responsibility and ability that professors recognized as exceptional. Hermione wasn't just academically brilliant, she had extraordinary practical application. She prepared Polyjuice Potion at only 12 years old, a potion so complex that normally only adult wizards attempt to prepare it. She modified her own parents' memories and completely erased herself from their lives to protect them during the war, an incredibly advanced and painful spell. During the Horcrux hunt, Hermione carried a bag with an undetectable extension charm containing an entire library, clothes, potions and supplies, keeping the 3 fugitives alive through her planning and magical ability. She discovered the existence of the Deathly Hallows through research and deduction, something that had escaped much older wizards. In the Battle of Hogwarts, Hermione fought alongside the best, her magical competence never in question despite her age. After the war, she worked at the Ministry of Magic, promoting house elf rights and other social justice causes, eventually becoming Minister for Magic. Hermione proved that birth doesn't determine power or value, something that resonated throughout the entire magical community. Her legacy at Hogwarts is of a witch who won through determination, intelligence, and firm moral principles. Ronald Weasley, also graduated from Gryffindor in 1998, deserves recognition he often doesn't receive. Coming from a poor but loving family, Ron grew up in the shadow of extraordinary older brothers. But Ron had his own unique talents. He was a natural strategist, as demonstrated when at only 11 years old he won McGonagall's giant chess game, sacrificing himself to allow Harry and Hermione to continue. This strategic ability served the trio well during all their adventures. Ron saved Harry from drowning, while Harry searched for the sword of Gryffindor, facing his worst fears manifested by the Horcrux. He destroyed the locket Horcrux, overcoming the psychological torment it caused. In the Battle of Hogwarts, Ron demonstrated leadership and courage, fighting alongside the best and suggesting saving the House Elves, showing significant moral growth. After the war, Ron became an aura alongside Harry before eventually helping to manage his brother's successful shop, Weasley's Wizard Wheezes. Ron represents the unlikely hero, the one whose loyalty, humor, and courage are as valuable as any powerful spell. Ginny Weasley, graduated from Gryffindor in 1999, was a formidable witch in her own right. Possessed by Tom Riddle through the Horcrux diary in her first year, Ginny survived an ordeal that would have destroyed many wizards. She developed resistance to possession and mental manipulation that few possess. Ginny was talented in offensive spells, particularly the Bat Bogey Hex, which became her specialty. She was so skilled that she became a professional chaser for the Holyhead Harpies, Britain's most successful all-female Quidditch team. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Ginny fought with ferocity and skill that impressed even Voldemort. She faced Bellatrix Lestrange, one of the most dangerous dark witches, demonstrating extraordinary courage. After the war, in addition to her Quidditch career, Ginny became senior Quidditch correspondent for the Daily Prophet, using her platform to positively influence the magical world. Ginny represents quiet strength, that witch who doesn't seek recognition, but whose actions speak louder than words. Neville Longbottom, graduated from Gryffindor in 1998, has one of the most impressive transformation stories. Son of Frank and Alice Longbottom, auras tortured into insanity by Bellatrix Lestrange, Neville grew up with his grandmother and arrived at Hogwarts believing he would never be good enough. He struggled with almost all subjects and was constantly bullied. But Neville possessed something rare: absolute courage and unwavering determination. During his first year, Neville had the courage to confront his own friends when he thought they were putting Gryffindor at risk, something Dumbledore recognized as extremely brave. Over the years, Neville flourished in herbology, becoming as skilled as Professor Sprout herself. When Harry, Ron, and Hermione left Hogwarts to hunt Horcruxes, it was Neville who led the resistance inside the school under Death Eater occupation. He suffered torture, but never broke. In the most crucial moment of the Battle of Hogwarts, when everyone thought Harry was dead and hope seemed lost, Neville defied Voldemort publicly. Voldemort tried to recruit Neville, but he categorically refused. When Voldemort set the Sorting Hat aflame on Neville's head, Neville pulled the sword of Gryffindor from the hat and beheaded Nagini, the last Horcrux, allowing Voldemort to be mortal again. This act of pure heroism changed the course of the battle. After the war, Neville became herbology professor at Hogwarts, inspiring a new generation of students and eventually head of Gryffindor House. Neville proved that true greatness doesn't come from innate talent, but from choosing to be brave when it matters most. Luna Lovegood, graduated from Ravenclaw in 1998, was a unique witch whose different perspective on the world concealed extraordinary intelligence and ability. Frequently ridiculed for her beliefs in creatures others considered imaginary, Luna possessed an open mind and creativity that allowed her to see solutions others couldn't. She was one of the few people who could see thestrals, demonstrating that she had experienced loss and death in ways that matured her beyond her age. Luna fought in the Battle of the Department of Mysteries at only 14 years old, remaining calm under extreme pressure. She was captured and imprisoned in Malfoy Manor, but never broke, maintaining hope and helping other prisoners. In the Battle of Hogwarts, Luna fought bravely, her unique perspective helping to solve the riddle of Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem. After the war, Luna became a famous magizoologist, discovering and cataloguing magical creatures around the world, proving that many of the things people ridiculed were real. Luna taught the magical world that different perspectives have immense value. Draco Malfoy, graduated from Slytherin in 1998, represents something important: the possibility of redemption. Raised in a family obsessed with blood purity and magical supremacy, Draco arrived at Hogwarts expecting to follow in his father's footsteps as a Death Eater. During his early years, he was cruel, prejudiced, and a bully. But when Voldemort actually returned, and Draco was marked as a Death Eater at 16 years old, he discovered that the reality of dark magic was very different from his childish fantasies. Voldemort ordered Draco to kill Dumbledore as punishment to his father Lucius. Draco spent the entire year trying, but when he finally had Dumbledore disarmed and at his mercy, he couldn't do it. There was goodness in Draco that his upbringing tried to suffocate, but didn't completely eliminate. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Draco didn't actively fight against Harry, and his mother Narcissa lied to Voldemort about Harry being dead, saving him. After the war, Draco raised his son Scorpius completely differently, without prejudices about blood, and eventually developed a civil, if not friendly, relationship with Harry and others. Draco wasn't powerful in the traditional sense, but his story shows another type of strength: the courage to recognize you were wrong and change. This influenced an entire generation of pureblood families to reconsider their beliefs. Draco's legacy is proof that people can change, and that recognizing mistakes requires more courage than maintaining them. When we look at all these extraordinary Hogwarts graduates, we realize that power takes many forms. Dumbledore and Voldemort represent the extremes of what pure magical power can achieve, one using it to protect and the other to dominate. Snape shows that genius and moral complexity can coexist. McGonagall demonstrates that strength comes from discipline and loyalty. Harry, Hermione, and Ron prove that friendship and courage can defeat seemingly invincible enemies. Neville teaches that heroism can emerge from the most unlikely places. Luna shows the value of unique perspectives. Even Draco reminds us that it's never too late to choose the right path. What makes Hogwarts truly special is not just that it produces powerful wizards, but that it shapes them in fundamental ways. The values of the four houses, Gryffindor's courage, Slytherin's ambition, Ravenclaw's wisdom, and Hufflepuff's loyalty, all contribute to creating extraordinary individuals. Even those who followed dark paths like Voldemort and Bellatrix were shaped by their experiences at Hogwarts, for better or worse. The true lesson of these powerful graduates is that power without purpose, without morality, without genuine human connections, is empty. Voldemort was incredibly powerful, but died alone, defeated by a teenager because he never understood the power of love and sacrifice. Dumbledore was equally powerful, but chose to use that power to teach, protect, and prepare the next generation. Harry wasn't the most technically skilled wizard, but his choices and his willingness to sacrifice himself for others made him one of the most consequential. Hogwarts continues to graduate new witches and wizards each year, each carrying the legacy of these extraordinary graduates. The school teaches not just spells and potions, but fundamental values that define what kind of witch or wizard each student will become. The stone corridors that witnessed Dumbledore's first steps also saw Harry Potter learn to be brave. The dungeons, where Snape developed his revolutionary potions, still echo with the work of new talented students. Each generation learns from the previous one, building upon the knowledge and mistakes of those who came before. The professors who teach at Hogwarts today, many of them are graduates who fought in the Battle of Hogwarts, who personally knew the consequences of wrong choices and the power of right choices. Neville Longbottom teaching herbology doesn't just transmit technical knowledge, but inspires students with his own journey of transformation. When he tells about facing Voldemort, about pulling the sword of Gryffindor from the sorting hat, he's not boasting. He's showing that courage is not the absence of fear, but choosing to act despite it. The impact of these powerful graduates extends far beyond Hogwarts. The reforms Harry Potter implemented as head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement fundamentally changed how the Ministry operates. Aurors are now trained not just to capture criminals, but to understand the circumstances that lead wizards to dark paths. Discriminatory laws against Muggleborns were completely eliminated, something Hermione fought tirelessly to achieve. The magical world learned, through 2 devastating wars, that prejudices about blood purity almost destroyed them. Newt Scamander's contribution to the treatment of magical creatures means that today there are sanctuaries and protected reserves for species that were previously hunted to near extinction. His work taught the magical world that creatures that seem dangerous are often just misunderstood, and that there is immense power in understanding and compassion instead of domination and control. Boggarts are no longer killed indiscriminately. Hippogriffs have legal protections, and even creatures considered pests like Cornish pixies receive more humane treatment. Dumbledore's discoveries about the 12 uses of dragon's blood continue to revolutionize diverse fields of magic. Potions that were once impossible are now routine. Spells that required rare ingredients can use alternatives thanks to this knowledge. His work in alchemy with Nicholas Flamel, though the Philosopher's Stone was destroyed, left texts and knowledge that advanced magical understanding in unimaginable ways. Dumbledore proved that even the most powerful must be eternal students, always seeking to learn more, never satisfied with existing knowledge. Tom Riddle's tragic story serves as eternal warning. He had everything necessary to be one of the greatest wizards for good in history. Talent that rivaled Dumbledore's, brilliant intelligence, fierce determination. But his choices, his obsession with immortality and power, his inability to understand love and genuine human connection transformed him into a monster. Voldemort is studied not just as a defeated enemy, but as an example of what happens when power is pursued without moral purpose, when ends justify means, when others are seen as tools instead of people. Professors at Hogwarts today use Voldemort's story to teach students about choices. They explain that Tom Riddle wasn't born evil. He chose that path step by step, decision after decision. Each time he killed to create a Horcrux, each time he used others without remorse, each time he chose power over compassion, he moved further from his humanity. The lesson is not that some people are born bad, but that everyone faces choices, and it's these choices that define who we become. Severus Snape remains a controversial figure even decades after his death. Some see him as a hero who sacrificed himself completely for the cause of light, working as a double agent under constant risk of discovery and horrible death. Others point to his actions as a professor, the bullying of students like Neville, his cruel treatment of Hermione. The truth is that Snape was deeply human, capable of both heroism and cruelty. His story teaches that people are complex, that someone can make terrible choices and still choose to do the right thing when it matters most. The relationship between Harry and Snape, revealed only after Snape's death, shows layers of sacrifice few understood. Snape spent 18 years protecting the son of the only woman he loved, the son of a man he hated, out of love and redemption. He endured Harry's hatred, the distrust of almost everyone, the constant risk of his cover being discovered, all while keeping the promise he made to Dumbledore and honouring Lily Potter's memory. When Harry named his son Albus Severus Potter, he recognised that Snape was probably the bravest man he ever knew, courage different from his father's or Sirius's, but no less real. Minerva McGonagall eventually retired as headmistress of Hogwarts, but her legacy as one of the most formidable witches of her generation remains intact. Generations of students were shaped by her rigorous but fair standards, by her unwavering loyalty to those under her protection, by her example that strength and compassion are not opposites, but complementary. She taught that being fair doesn't mean being soft, that discipline comes from mutual respect, and that defending what's right sometimes requires defying authorities. Hermione's journey from Muggle-born to Minister for Magic symbolizes the fundamental changes in the post-war magical world. She faced prejudice and discrimination throughout her life, being called mudblood by people like Draco Malfoy, having her competence constantly questioned despite being clearly more skilled than most of her pure-blood peers. But she never allowed that to define or limit her. She proved through consistent action that birth doesn't determine value or ability. As minister, she implemented radical reforms that ensured no future student would face the discrimination she faced. Ron Weasley is often forgotten when people discuss the heroes of the war, but those who were there know the truth. Ron was the heart of the trio, the one who kept Harry and Hermione connected to reality, who provided comic relief when everything seemed dark, whose loyalty never wavered except for a brief period under the Horcrux's influence, something for which he completely redeemed himself. His marriage to Hermione and his decision to work initially as an Auror before helping his brother George show a balanced man, comfortable with who he is, not needing to prove anything to anyone. Neville Longbottom's transformation is perhaps the most inspiring story of that entire generation. He started as the boy everyone underestimated, whose own potions professor openly ridiculed, who constantly lost his remembrall, who seemed destined to live in the shadow of heroic but incapacitated parents. But Neville possessed something spells can't teach: absolute refusal to give up. Each time he fell, he got up. Each time he failed, he tried again. And when the crucial moment came, when the prophecy could have been about him as much as about Harry, Neville proved that true heroism doesn't come from prophecy or destiny, but from choice. As herbology professor, Neville is beloved by his students in a way few professors achieve. He understands what it's like to struggle, what it's like to feel inadequate, and uses this empathy to connect with students facing difficulties. He never forgets how Professor Sprout believed in him when few did, and he pays it forward with every student who crosses his path. Some of the best herbologists of the new generation attribute their success directly to Neville's encouragement and teaching. Luna Lovegood became one of the world's most respected magizoologists, discovering 3 new species of magical creatures and documenting dozens of others that were considered mythical. She proved that maintaining an open mind and questioning conventional wisdom often leads to revolutionary discoveries. Her work on magical creatures in Sweden, Brazil, and Central Africa enormously expanded the magical world's knowledge. She also wrote extensively about the importance of preserving magical habitats, work that influenced conservation policies globally. What Luna taught the world goes beyond magizoology. She showed that being different, seeing the world uniquely, is not weakness but tremendous strength. The things people ridiculed about her, her belief in creatures others didn't believe in, her refusal to conform to social expectations, her brutal honesty, all proved to be advantages. Students who feel different, who don't fit perfectly, look at Luna and see that there's room in the magical world for all kinds of greatness. When we think about Draco Malfoy and his journey from reluctant Death Eater to father raising a son without prejudices, we see the possibility of change, even in the most unlikely circumstances. Draco could have followed the path of his Aunt Bellatrix, completely embracing the ideology of darkness, but there was a spark of decency in him that, when tested, shone. His eventual relationship with his schoolmates, particularly with Harry, during the years their children studied together at Hogwarts, shows that reconciliation is possible even after bitter conflict. The generation of students who came after the war grew up in a different world. They didn't live under the constant threat of Voldemort, didn't have to choose sides in a war, didn't see friends and family die in battles. But they carried the responsibility of maintaining the peace that was won with so much blood. The children of heroes, Albus Potter, Rose Granger Weasley, Scorpius Malfoy and others, grew up hearing stories about the war, about sacrifices made, about choices that defined a generation. These stories aren't just entertainment for them, they're lessons about what kind of witches and wizards they want to be. When Albus Potter struggled with the weight of his name, with expectations of being like his famous father, he eventually learned the same lesson Harry learned. That you can't live to meet others' expectations, you need to discover who you are and be true to that. The friendship between Albus and Scorpius, son of Harry and son of Draco, symbolizes the healing of old wounds and the possibility of a new generation writing its own story. Hogwarts continues to be the heart of the British magical world, perhaps more than ever. The castle that was damaged during the Battle of Hogwarts was rebuilt, but some scars were intentionally preserved as reminders. There's a memorial on the grounds listing all who died defending the school, both students and professors, members of the Order of the Phoenix, and even centaurs from the Forbidden Forest who joined the fight. Students pass by this memorial daily, a constant reminder of the cost of the freedom they enjoy. The powerful Hogwarts graduates we explored today represent the complete spectrum of human experience. Dumbledore and Voldemort at the extremes of power used for light and darkness. Snape showing that redemption is possible even for those who made terrible choices. McGonagall demonstrating stable leadership and quiet strength. Harry, Ron and Hermione proving that friendship and love are forces more powerful than any dark magic. Neville teaching that courage can be cultivated. Luna showing the value of unique perspectives, Hermione breaking barriers and reforming unjust systems. Even Draco offering hope for change. Hogwarts' true power isn't just in teaching spells and potions, transfiguration and defense against the dark arts. It's in shaping character, in presenting young witches and wizards with challenges that reveal who they really are, in creating community where friendships are formed that last lifetimes. The Marauders formed friendship at Hogwarts that, despite everything, remained central to their lives. The Golden Trio forged bonds during their school years that survived war and continue strong decades later. Each house contributes its own unique qualities to this cauldron of talents. Gryffindor produces brave heroes willing to risk everything for what's right. Slytherin, despite its reputation tarnished by Voldemort and other dark wizards, also produces ambitious and determined wizards who achieve greatness when guided by moral purpose. Ravenclaw provides the brilliant thinkers and innovators who expand the boundaries of magical knowledge. Hufflepuff, often underestimated, produces loyal and hard-working wizards who are the backbone of magical society. When we look at 1,000 years of Hogwarts history, we see a clear pattern. The school doesn't create power, it reveals and shapes what already exists. Tom Riddle always had the capacity for greatness or horror. Hogwarts simply provided tools and knowledge. What he chose to do with these tools was his decision alone. Similarly, Harry Potter always had courage and goodness within him. Hogwarts provided the environment where these qualities could flourish and strengthen. Hogwarts' most powerful graduates teach us that power without wisdom is dangerous, that strength without compassion is tyranny, that knowledge without morality leads to destruction. They also show us that it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter how difficult the circumstances, you can choose to be better. Neville came from a family devastated by tragedy, grew up believing he was inadequate, but chose to be brave. Hermione faced discrimination for her birth, but chose to prove her worth through excellence, and then reform the system so others wouldn't face the same. Harry was marked for death before he even understood what that meant, but chose to live in a way that honored the sacrifices made for him. These aren't just stories about powerful wizards casting impressive spells, though there's certainly plenty of that. They're stories about choices, about character, about what it means to be truly powerful. Voldemort had power to cause mass destruction, to command armies, to make the entire magical world tremble with fear. But in the end, he died alone, defeated by a teenager, because he never understood that true power comes from connection, love, and willingness to fight for something greater than yourself. Dumbledore had power comparable to Voldemort's, perhaps even greater, but chose to use it in completely different ways. He could have become ruler of the magical world, possibly even the Muggle world, with ease, but he chose to teach, guide, protect. He chose to prepare the next generation to face challenges he knew he wouldn't live to see resolved. He chose to trust Harry Potter, a teenager, with secrets and responsibilities that would have crushed many adults. And this trust, this investment in the next generation, proved to be his greatest magic. As we conclude our journey through Hogwarts' most powerful graduates, we hope you've learned not just about impressive spells and epic duels, but about what it really means to be powerful. Power isn't just the ability to dominate others or perform impossible magical feats. True power is choosing to do what's right when it would be easier to do what's wrong. It's getting up when you fall. It's defending those who can't defend themselves. It's continuing to believe in goodness even when the world seems dark. Hogwarts continues its sacred mission of educating young witches and wizards, and certainly more powerful graduates will come. Perhaps among current students, there's a future discoverer of new branches of magic, a future leader who will guide the magical world through a new crisis, a future hero who will inspire generations. Hogwarts' magic isn't just in its enchanted corridors or changing staircases, but in the unlimited potential of every student who crosses its doors. If you enjoyed this deep exploration of Hogwarts' most powerful graduates, don't forget to leave your like, share with other fans of the magical universe, and tell us in the comments which of these witches and wizards you most admire and why. There's something special about diving into these stories, remembering that even in the darkest moments, there's always hope. There are always those willing to fight for the light. And remember, as Dumbledore once said, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light. Until the next video, and may magic always be with you. This journey through 1,000 years of Hogwarts history shows us that the school is more than stones and spells. It's a living legacy of choices, sacrifices, and triumphs of countless witches and wizards who passed through its corridors. Each graduate carries part of this history forward, adding their own chapter to the infinite book that is Hogwarts. And as long as there are young people with magic in their veins and dreams in their hearts, Hogwarts will continue producing graduates who will change the world for the better with the power they discover not just in their wands, but within themselves.